Good morning. Welcome to Plugged In. We will have another short story about Daniel right after this. And we're glad to have you back on this first Monday of May. And it's, I believe, the last week for seniors at our local high school. And so congratulations to those. Some of you may have some family members that are graduating this next weekend. It's a big deal, and so we look forward to that. Don't forget, this coming Sunday is also Mother's Day, so I want to encourage you to do something special for your mom. And I say that because I'm sure my mom will be listening, and so she'll hold that against me that I said it live on air, so she's going to make sure I do something for her, but I was going to anyway. Hey, we're glad that you're with us. We're just taking our time going through the story of Daniel. And next week we'll be in chapter 3 with one of the more familiar stories, but we finish up chapter 2 today. And again, it won't be on the screen due to the length of it, but if you want to follow along, you may, or jot down the verses that I'm going to give you. But to open it up this morning, just a short little quick funny story. There was a couple who were going on vacation. They were standing in line waiting to check their bags at the airline counter, and the husband said to the wife, "I wish we had brought the piano." And she said, "Why? We've already got 16 bags." And the husband said, "Yes, I know, but the tickets are on the piano." You know, we all have a tendency to forget. It may be that we forget where we laid our car keys or a scheduled dental appointment. It might just escape our mind, or we just forget about someone's anniversary or birthday. This is a true story. I have known parents. I wasn't the one, by the way, but I have known parents who were late in picking up their kids. I mean, we're talking late in picking up their kids from either school or a sports practice because they forgot that their kids were even gone. Yeah, you must have had a whole lot of things on your mind. Well, in our short story today, Daniel does not forget. Now, I want to push the rewind button for just a few seconds here. If we go back to last week's lesson, you remember that Daniel reveals to King Nebuchadnezzar not only what he dreamed, but the interpretation. But Daniel did not forget to give credit where credit was due. Daniel admitted that he was not wise enough in his own nature to tell what the dream was and or interpret it. Only God could do that. Daniel also did not forget to share every detail of the dream. If you remember, each of those pieces of the statue represented certain empires. But when we get to verse 44, Daniel says this: "In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush all of those kingdoms and bring them to an end. but it itself will endure forever. You know, while there are other kingdoms and rulers that will fall, God's kingdom is indestructible. And those who believe in God, those who accept his son Jesus Christ as Lord, become members of that kingdom, and they are secure in him. But there is one other thing that Daniel did not forget. He did not forget his friends. So if you're following along this morning, I want to read for you the last two verses found in Daniel chapter 2, verses 48 and 49. Here's how it reads. Then the king placed Daniel in a high position and lavished him with many gifts. He made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon and placed him in charge of all of its wise men. Moreover, at Daniel's request, the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego administrators over the province of Babylon, while Daniel himself remained in the royal court. After being named a ruler, or being named over the royal province of Babylon, and placed in charge of the wise men, Daniel requested that his companions be appointed as his assistants. Now, there are a couple of things in this particular section that strike me that I think are good for lessons for us. Here's the first one. Daniel's loyalty to his friends. You know, sometimes people have a tendency to forget those who helped them to get where they are at, or they forget their supporting cast. Now, of course, we know the story, and we know that really, ultimately, it was all God's plan that Daniel is placed in the position that he's in. And we know that it's very true that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego really didn't have a whole lot to do with where Daniel was at. They didn't put forth a whole lot of contribution. And yet, if we remember back through their story, all four of them are together for a number of things. All four of them endured taking on the vow of not eating from the king's table. All four of them ate vegetables and drank water for 10 days. All four of them, their lives were spared, and they looked better than the rest of the group. By the time we get to chapter 2, and the king gives his threat of executing someone who will not interpret the dream, those four men are included in that execution. So Daniel does not forget the loyalty from them to him. All four of them pray that God would reveal to them, or to at least Daniel, the dream. So what Daniel does is he sees to it that they have a part in what he is doing. And that leads me to this second thought that's very important. Daniel realizes that the responsibility that he has been given cannot be done by one person. Just recently, I visited with our school superintendent and shared with him my appreciation for the work that he has done this past year. And Dr. Valentine was very quick to comment, it wasn't him, it was the supporting team. This is an enormous task that Daniel has before him. So he needed a solid supporting staff. And this is a good lesson for any of us who are in leadership roles, whether it be a pastor of a church, a principal at a school, a boss who owns the business. Our jobs are made easier by having a good team with us. You can read about that in Exodus chapter 18 when Moses realized he needed to have some people helping him. Daniel understands this in his life, and it is a good practice for each of us. Well, I want to thank you again for watching us today, and hopefully some of this will help you in your everyday life. Hope that you have a wonderful week. And next week, on Monday, we will start chapter 3, a familiar, popular story about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We'll see how long it takes us to break that story down. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Monday on Plugged In.